Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we're looking at Innumerable Insects, the story of the most diverse and myriad animals on Earth by Michael Engel. I love reading these nonfiction books, but I was thinking that they really come in such a variety of styles, and it's not always easy to know really what a book will be like. For me, reading is a big time investment, and there are certain approaches to writing nonfiction that I'm much more likely to want to buy if I know that the book will be like that. I just wanted to point this out because I feel like that gets left out of the conversation when talking about nonfiction books sometimes. And that's something I want to start leaning into a little more on the channel. I want to make sure that if you watch one of my videos, you're going to have a pretty good idea as to whether or not you'll want to pick this book up. And importantly, I wouldn't want you to watch my video, buy the book, and read it, and then say to yourself, I wish I knew the book was like that. Why didn't No Edit Book Reviews mention this? That seems kind of important. That was one reason I didn't do a real book review for Buzz by Tor Hansen. It was pretty light on science and pretty heavy on storytelling, and I just wasn't expecting that because the last book I read by him, Seeds, was much more of a science book. Okay, so with that out of the way, there are a few key points that you should know about Innumerable Insects. This book is from the American Museum of Natural History, and so it does have a bit of like a coffee table book vibe to it. But don't let that discourage you if you're a person wanting to learn about insects. I think that this book was very well put together, and this book is full of excellent artwork, which I'll show you at the end of the video. And one of the things this book does is discuss entomology from a historical perspective, and they actually use the art from the earlier works in the entomological literature. What really makes this book great, in my opinion, is the information that they chose to include and how they chose to lay that information out. Let's take a look at the chapter names real quick. Chapter 1, Entomology, the Science of Insects. It's general information, prepping and priming you for what you're going to be learning about. Chapter 2 is Grappling with Diversity. We're really starting to notice that this book was written by a biologist. If you've studied any specific organisms, you know the way that they deal in systematics and classification, and I think this is the best way to study animals, or plants for that matter, especially a huge group like insects. And this book will show you what group insects fall into and what groups fall into insects. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm looking for in a book like this. Chapter 3, Earliest of the Six-Legged. We're getting into some deep history and evolutionary relationships. Chapter 4 is Insects Take to the Skies, looking at flight, which nobody does better than insects, probably because nobody's done it longer than insects. Chapter 5 is Complete Metamorphosis, looking at some of the differences between insects and their life cycles. Chapter 6 is Pests, Parasites, and Plagues. A big part of insects is the fact that they can cause a lot of damage and vector parasites, bacteria, and viruses. Chapter 7, It Takes a Village, looking at sociality in insects and their skills in building colonies. Chapter 8 is Language of Insects. This looks at the various form of insect communication. Chapter 9 is Hiding in Plain Sight, a look at camouflage, different colorations, and mimicry. Chapter 10, finally, is The World of Bloom, the relationship between plants and insects, especially looking at pollination. Even within each of the chapters, the information is laid out in a very organized way, usually covering insects by order, what order they're in. In my opinion, order is such a great way to present insect classification because it's general enough to include huge groups that are easily identifiable, but it's exclusive enough to really appreciate what makes each of the orders special. Like order Coleoptera, the beetles, or order Lepidoptera, the butterflies and moths. For insects, order is like the family level for plants. Another great thing about this book, and you'd see this a lot with books like this, is the author's passion. It's kind of nice when you're reading about a subject and you can tell that it's something that's really important to the author. I've noticed that a lot with other insect books. There was one thing that I didn't like so much about this book, and that's that because it covers such a broad scope of information, it tends to not go very deep. Like, In the insect communication chapter, I was looking forward to learning more about the chemical and pheromone communication, but there was just like one page of super general information, and that was it. So that's something you kind of have to take with this book. I think that fact makes this book best for someone who doesn't yet know very much about insects, but you'd like to see whether or not that this is a subject you'd like to spend some more time with. That's who this book is perfect for. Or if you're just a casual nature lover and you appreciate natural history and art. I really enjoyed this book. I actually learned about this author from Tor Hansen's Buzz, and most of Michael Engel's other books are like school textbooks, so I went with this one. Okay, that's it for this one, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Yeah, I think I want to focus more on what kind of nonfiction book whatever I'm reviewing is, and who would be the best audience for that book. If it sounds to you like this book suits you, check out Innumerable Insects by Michael Engel.